Welcome back, everybody. Once again, it's Dane Teach at CCSD. Today we're going to continue on our study in pharmacy math. Last time was Math 1. We went over how to convert from fractions to decimal to percentages. This time we're working on metric conversions and English metric conversions. So hopefully you remembered those conversion factors I had for you last time. If you haven't made flashcards, commit them to memory, go ahead and do so now. Make a list of those before you continue on. So I'm going to go a little bit outside the box. Traditionally in the medical field, doing conversions would involve cross multiplying. I'm going to employ a different technique. It's called the factor label method or dimensional analysis or multiplying by 1. So hopefully that'll work for you. I find it a lot easier and quicker when we're doing the dosage and math calculations for pharmacy. The metric system. So everybody else besides the United States and I believe Myanmar are the only countries still on the English system. So to measure volume in the metric system, however, there's only one unit, and that's the liter. So that's how much space something occupies. To measure mass, how much something weighs in the metric system, it is only the gram. And for length in the metric system, and what the metric system is based on, is the meter. So there's only one unit per dimension of analysis. However, in the English system, you got ounces, gallons, cubic foot. I think that's how you build your water at home. So there's many more, and you got to be able to convert or compare those. In the metric system, it's just one unit per dimension of analysis. And all these base units have a value of 1. In the metric system, or using the metric system, sometimes you'll have to deal with very large numbers and very small numbers. And that's where the prefixes come in. So in the metric system, for pharmacy, we're only going to use these 3 prefixes. So we have kilo, the base unit, milli, and then micro. So kilo has a value of 1,000. So you guys probably heard of a kilogram. Now you know that that's equal to 1,000 grams. The base unit has a value of 1. Milli means 1/1000. So conversely, I can write 1 over 1,000. And micro is 1/1,000,000th. So conversely, I can write that as 1/1,000,000th. 1 over 1,000,000. Now, in between each step, you have a 1,000-fold difference. So to convert between the two, you're only going to multiply or divide by 1,000. And that's pretty easy. To multiply by 10, you just add a 0. To multiply by 100, you're going to add 2 zeros. And then to multiply by 1,000, we'll go ahead and add 3 zeros. And then to divide by 10, you just subtract a 0. If you want to divide by 100, well, we're going to subtract 2 zeros. And if you want to divide by 1,000, well, that's going to be, yeah, you guessed it, 3 zeros. So here's a breakdown, the values of the abbreviation. So for pharmacy, we'll use kg, gm, mg, and mcg. So you want to avoid using the Greek letter mu. Looks like a U with a long front. That just looks too much like a milligram. So please don't use that Greek letter mu. How to multiply by 1,000. So we're going to add 3 zeros. So conversely, it's the same as moving the decimal point 3 spaces to the right. And then just fill in your zeros. 1,000. 1 times 1,000 is 1,000. If you need to divide by 1,000, we can do the same thing. So on a whole number, there's the decimal point. This time we're going to move it 3 spaces to the left, fill in our zeros, and we'll document that number in pharmacy notation. So that's it. That's all you have to do when you're converting within the metric system. So how do you know it is a metric conversion? Well, you only have metric units. You're converting from one metric unit to another metric unit. So on your scratch paper or any handouts, just quickly put on the top of it, list the units from largest to smallest, going from left to right. So if you forget which side is the largest unit, just put your index finger and thumb up, and you'll see it will make an L on the left side. So on the left side, you'll have the largest units. So here we have kilograms, grams, milligrams, and then micrograms. And the three dots just remind you that there are 3 decimal places or a 1,000-fold difference amongst those units. For volume, you can do the same for liters and mLs. If you forget which side the liters go, again, put your index finger and thumb up, and you'll know that liters will be on the left side as well. So setting this up, we're going to move within the metric system, or convert within the metric system by just moving the decimal places. Multiples of 3. So you're always going to move either 3 spaces, 6 spaces, or 9. Let's try this example. So we're converting 50 grams into milligrams. So they're asking how many milligrams are there in 50 grams. So our starting units are grams, and we need to end up in milligrams. So we're going from grams to milligrams. That's going to be 3 spaces to the right. So on a whole number, your decimal point is to the right, and you're going to move it 1, 2, 3. We will fill in our zeros and document our number. So 50 grams is 50,000 milligrams. Let's do the next example. We got the same 50 grams. This time we're going to micrograms. So we're going to move the decimal point this time 6 spaces to the right. So fill in your zeros. 50 grams is equivalent to 50 million micrograms. Let's do a few more examples. We still have that same 50 grams. This time we need to end up in kilograms. So we're going to go to the left this time. 3 decimal places to the left. So you move the decimal point 3 spaces, fill in your zeros, and document it in proper pharmacy notation. So we're going to leave off that trailing 0. Kilograms to milligrams. That looks like it's going to be 6 spaces to the right. Document our number as 38,000. 53.4 micrograms. And this time, mics to grams, we got to go 6 spaces to the left. And the last example for metric conversions, we have 25.75 milligrams. We got to go to grams, so it's 3 spaces to the left. So 0.02575 grams. From last time, I gave you the same conversion factor lists. Hopefully you've commit this to memory. If not, make some flashcards. The English units on one side, metric units on the other. Shuffle them up, go through them, make a pile of the ones you know, a pile of the ones you don't know, and repeat the pile that you don't know until they all become known. Okay, so traditionally, it is cross multiplying. A over B equals C over D, and then you get the wings. Then you get AD equals BC, right? I'm gonna kind of steer away from that. We're gonna multiply numbers by 1. So the power of 1. We take a number like 250, multiply by 1, we get the same. A third divided by or times 1, still the same. Same when we divide a number by 1. 250 divided by 1 still gives us 250. And a third divided by 1 still gives us a third. The other amazing power of 1 is if you take a number and divide it by itself, it becomes, well, 1. So 250 divided by 250 is 1. A third divided by a third, that is also 1. Therefore, let's see. If a dozen equals 12, and you have 1 dozen divided by 12, or if you have 12 divided by a dozen, what does that equal? Well, since they're the same, and if you divide something by itself, then it should equal 1. And in this case, it does. When you put units to a digit, it changes the meaning. So in this case, 1 dozen would also equal 12. So both of these will equal 1, and they will be your conversion factor. Your job is to choose which form of 1 to use, and I'll show you how to do that. The mLs equals how many teaspoons? So the first thing you need to know are the conversion factors. So I know that for every teaspoon, there are approximately 5 mLs. So that means I have 2 ways of expressing my value of 1. I can do 1 teaspoon over 5 mLs, or I can do 5 mLs over 1 teaspoon. And both of these will also equal 1. So I'm going to multiply by either this factor of 1 or this factor of 1. So let's set up the problem. So the first thing you do is, this is just a placeholder step. You put your question, so we're given 50 mLs, just put it over 1. That helps us to organize our math. Next is we're going to multiply by one of these conversion factors, either this form or that form. And how you know which one to use is you got to look at the units. We're starting in mLs, but we need to end up with teaspoons. So the units that remain need to be teaspoons. So I'm going to use it. I'm going to put the mLs at the bottom. So 1 teaspoon equal 5 mLs. And I'll show you why. So now we can cancel our units. So the mLs cancel out, and we're left with teaspoons. And that's what was asked of us, convert the mLs to teaspoon. And then from this point, all you're doing is multiplying the fractions. So we got 50 over 1 times 1 over 5. Crunch the numbers. So you can just ignore the ones for these calculations. So the simplified math would be just 50 divided by 5. And that'll give you 10 teaspoons. So a lot of you guys are probably thinking, you know what? I can do this in my head. And yeah, for simple one-step conversions, definitely. If you're confident enough, then yeah, go ahead. Do it in your head. Or do it a different method that works for you. But for multiple step conversions, you follow the units, it'll be a lot easier. All right, let's try this guy. It's still a one-step problem. So the first thing we do is we put it over 1. So 35 ounces, we're going to put over 1. And then the next thing we do is we got to figure out our conversion factor. 1 ounce is 30 mLs. So I got 2 choices. I got 1 ounce over 30 mLs. That's going to equal 1. Or I have 30 mLs over 1 ounce equals 1. So we're going to have to figure out which form we want to use. So based on the setup, we want ounces at the bottom. So it looks like this one will win out. So we'll then cancel out the units and we do our math. So in this case, we got 35 over 1 times 30 over 1. Crunch the numbers like before. You don't have to worry about the ones. This time we just multiply. 35 times 30 is 1,050 mLs. So for the last question, we divided by the conversion factor. And for this question, we multiplied by the conversion factor. So that's it. It's only a 50-50 chance. Either you multiply or divide by the conversion factor. And setting up the problem will help you determine which one. Pounds to kilos. We're still at one step. For every 1 kilo, I have 2.2 pounds. So let's set up the problem. We'll put 150 pounds over 1. And we want pounds at the bottom, right? So we're going to put 1 kilo over 2.2 pounds. The units cancel. And for this one, you're just going to do 150 divided by 2.2. So this one you divide by the conversion factor. Get about 68.2 kilos. Milligrams to grain. So remember, this equals grain, not gram. So our factor is 1 grain is 65 milligrams. So we'll set up the problem. 1,000 milligrams over 1. And we want milligrams to be our units at the bottom. So we'll have 1 grain over 65. The units cancel out. And for this one, we divide. 1,000 divided by 65 will give you 15.4 grains. All right, let's get into the multiple step problems. So this is a 2-step conversion. I did not give you a conversion factor that directly converts feet to centimeters, but we can convert feet into inches and then inches to centimeters. So when you're starting off, you're not familiar with the conversion factors. So just use your lists and see what's available. All right, let's set this guy up. So we got 4 feet over 1. So our first conversion factor is 12. There are 12 inches in a foot. Are we going to multiply or divide? So the units we want at the bottom is feet. So we're going to put 12 inches over 1 foot. Now we're in inches, we need to go to centimeters, and that conversion factor is 2.54. So you're either going to multiply or divide by 2.54. So here we got inches here. That means we want inches at the bottom. So 2.54 centimeters is equal to 1 inch. Let's cancel out the units. So feet cancels out, inches cancel out, and we're left with centimeters, and that's what they want. So we'll do the math. We're going to take 4 times 12 times 2.54, and you end up with 122 centimeters. Next example, 91 ounces into kilograms. So let's go to pounds first, and then we can go to kilo. So the conversion factor ounces to pounds is 16. And the conversion factor pounds to kilo is 2.2. So we'll start 91 ounces over 1. Our conversion factor, we want ounces here at the bottom. So 1 pound is 16 ounces. We have pounds up here, so we want pounds at the bottom. So 1 kilogram is 2.2 pounds. Cancel your units. Double check that you're in the same units as requested. We are. And it looks like we're going to divide by 16 and then divide by 2.2 based on the fractions. So we'll end up with about 2.59 kilograms. 91 ounces is about 2.59 kilos. Don't be afraid. The more you practice this method, the easier it gets. The most important thing is look at the units. And then whatever units you're ending up in should be the same as your question. All right, thank you guys for joining us for Math Part 2. Now this is going to be the make or break point. If you get conversions down pat, the rest of the class will be fairly easy for you. If you're still struggling on this, let me know. But for next time, Math 3, we're going to cover some temperature conversions. So here is a simple formula for you to remember. 9C equals 5F minus 160. And in Math 3, we'll cover temperature conversions, order and supply problems. Once again, thank you for joining me for Math 2, and I'll see you again next time. Dang, da dang, da dang, da dang, dang.